All right, guys, welcome to the very first episode. I'm Jerry, here with my brother.
I'm Greg.
Welcome. Hey, just quick introduction. You guys are going to get to know us over the next many weeks that we're talking about our fandom in wrestling. But just real quick, let's give a little bit of introduction, who we are, why we're doing a podcast. Number one, we're just fans. We don't have any inside connections. We don't talk to the dirt sheet guys. I don't even read anything on the news sites. I just watch wrestling. I respond to it. I see what I like, what I don't like. But I have been watching, just so you guys know, I've been watching wrestling since about 1982. So I grew up on TBS, Georgia Championship Wrestling, World Championship Wrestling, Jim Crockett Promotions fan, knew what was going on with the WWF. And pretty much in March of 2001 when WCW died, so did my fandom. Until the network started in 2014 because I had all this cool content from years past. I go back and watch all the pay-per-views, and that kind of got me back into it.
And I'm an old school guy, and that is all the people need to know. And some of you might get that reference.
I get it a little bit too. So, Greg, since you're an old school guy.
As Baron von Raschke, by the way.
Yes. Since you're an old school kind of guy, and I was on the tail end of this. I'm familiar with this gentleman, but certainly neither of us saw him in his prime. But here recently we lost Pedro Morales. Tell me, what are some of your memories of Pedro Morales?
Well, I first saw Pedro. He was the Intercontinental Champ.
I like how you said Pedro, like you guys are buddies.
Me and Pedro, we were tight. Pedro, I remember reading and hearing about him winning the WWF belt. But first feud I remember him being involved in, I think it was Greg Valentine, 81 or somewhere in that area when Valentine was floating between there and Mid-Atlantic. And they had some pretty good matches, even though Pedro was on the tail end of his career.
I recall him being around. I didn't get a chance to look this up, but I think he was in that Battle Royal in WrestleMania 2.
I think he was, yeah.
Yeah, I think he was in that. So I caught him in some matches. I don't remember him as IC champion. When I started watching or remembering WWF, I think Tito Santana already had that belt. Maybe him and Greg Valentine were going back and forth on it. But I never really caught him in Pedro Morales in any of his prime wrestling, but I do remember him doing a little broadcasting here.
Actually, I tell a lie. I think he was first feuding with Don Morocco.
I think that's possible, yeah.
And they actually had some pretty good matches. Madison Square Garden Network would play, obviously some of the Madison Square Garden matches. Boston Gardens, Philadelphia, and they showcased a lot of those, especially the smaller market, Boston and Philadelphia. They were usually the main event.
What was fun, I was telling there's a coworker of mine, big WWE fan. He's under 30, so he doesn't know probably too much prior to Ruthless Aggression era. So when I told him, whenever something like that happens, we lose somebody like that, I mentioned to him, I was like, no, you don't understand. His reign as IC champion, his reign as WWF champion. This guy was a big deal, and he's like, oh. Was he one of your favorites? I'm like, well, he wrestled in the 70s. I'm not that old, but that's I always have fun with those kind of conversations. So.
Well, these new guys, the new school type younger guys, they don't really understand. First of all, Bruno, but then him losing to Koloff was a big deal. Koloff was just the transition to put the belt on Pedro because Bruno wanted a break, and Pedro was the only other face because the ethnicity at the time was as close to Bruno in popularity as possible. And he carried the belt good. I mean, he did a good job as champion, I thought. I think he's an underrated champion.
Because of the way the lengthy reigns were of the WWF champions back then, we're actually slowly losing them into time. I mean, Buddy Rogers, of course, has passed away. Bruno Sammartino died recently. Now Pedro. Stan Stasiak has been passed away. Has anyone checked on Superstar Billy Graham? Because he is now the earliest reigning champion still alive. Ivan Koloff, of course. So we got a clean.
Actually, I think he just got out of the hospital with pneumonia.
I did read that
about 3-4 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's I don't want to get depressing but that's starting to make me think. Wow, dang, I'm old. All these champions and wrestlers I really remember, they're fading away on us. So.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, Dory Funk Jr. is still alive.
Amen. He's probably actually main eventing somewhere too
in Japan.
In Japan, most likely. So.
Because I think didn't he win the belt in '69?
Something like that.
So that would have been 50 years ago that he won the belt.
Well, I was referring to the WWF champion specifically. Like, if you actually start from the first champion, the first 5 of them are now passed away. So.
Well, but your point goes to all the champions. I mean, if you look at the AWA, Bockwinkel's dead, Gagne's dead.
Larry Zbyszko might be the only. No, I mean Martel's alive. Stan Hansen's still alive.
Well, yeah, I don't count them as real champions. I don't count Zbyszko either. I mean, really.
I know what you mean.
Martel, maybe, because he did hold the belt for a long time. Hansen should have held it longer, but yeah.
Wasn't Martel sort of the make good for, oops, we let Hulk Hogan get away. Let's get the next big, muscular, good-looking guy and put the belt on him?
Well, that plus he was from Canada, and I think they were hoping to keep that connection with their northern borders. So I think I was kind of both of it.
See, actually, this is just so you guys can pinpoint where I was at when I started watching wrestling. Rick Martel is actually the first AWA champion I remember, because I think he won in '84.
Yeah, somewhere
maybe late
there,
84 or 85ish. I'd have to look that up, but that's when I started paying attention and knowing what the AWA was. He was leads us into a little bit here. So one of the reasons we picked this particular weekend to start this is it's extended weekend, President's Day. We got Monday off, and we watched Elimination Chamber.
It sucked.
It was amazing.
No, really, it sucked. Other than that last match, which actually I thought was a good match, but...
Well, if you guys know, my brother and I, we've watched wrestling.
Oh.
Yeah, okay, let's get this out of the way. I mean, we're going to put in the... If you're downloading this and listening to it, by the way, thank you, because Greg and I decided that, hey, if dozens of people actually download and listen to this, hey, we're going to be pretty happy. This is really just for us. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been in this position where you and your buddies are talking about wrestling. You're like, man, this should be a podcast. We should just record this. That's pretty much what we're doing. We've talked wrestling for 35 years together, and now we understand how to actually record this and where to put it without really costing us any money.
Pretty sad, actually. But
yeah, no, it's... I'm not going to say we're not marks, but anyway...
No, we're marks.
We're totally marks. So, but we have probably not actually watched a pay-per-view together since... the WrestleMania 31, the one that Sting was in, because we were kind of like, whoa, what are they going to do here?
Yeah, that's probably right.
That's probably it. So it's kind of fun for us to actually sit down and watch some wrestling together, because we haven't watched current product stuff together in a long time.
I wouldn't say that was fun, but okay.
That actually, I kind of like...
Got nothing to do with you.
I actually like the WrestleMania as a whole.
Oh, no, I was talking about tonight.
Oh no, well, yeah, tonight's wrestling was a little weird. So let's go through it. So, by the way, we...
Again, spoiler alerts.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. If you're downloading an episode that's called, Introductions and Elimination Chamber Results, you know what you're in for. So by the time we got home, turned it on, watching it, we had already missed the Women's Tag Team Elimination Chamber match.
Oh, and apparently the Cruiserweight title match, too.
Was that in the pregame?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Actually, I didn't catch the result of that one. Did you read it?
The champ won. I don't know what his name is. Buddy Murphy or something like that. Anyway, he retained his title in a very hard-fought, grueling, old-school wrestling classic.
All right, let's just be fair. The Boston Hug Connection wins this. Was there any surprise?
Did anybody care?
Well, let's talk about this, because here's what I'm reading. Banks and Bailey become the first ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions.
Which isn't true.
I thought the Jumping Bomb Angels were champions for a little while.
Yeah.
I know it's one of those belts that probably didn't have a real tournament, didn't actually have a real match, but when they had a women's division going on, they probably slapped them on someone and said, hey, you're the champs. But
yeah, because they feuded with Joyce Grable and Leilani Kai, or somebody like that.
I was going to pull Leilani Kai out for sure. That one I remember. But
well, pull up Jumping Bomb Angels. You have better
I'm
luck.
doing that right now.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
What?
First ever.
Well, it's WWE. They know you don't know the history.
No, you know what? I don't agree with that. I think if you're going to stick with this podcast, it's not going to be because of our review of the current product. There's dozens of podcasts that do that. Some of it do well, though. One of the things I hope to bring to this is that we're going to respond to this as fans, not as hey, here's what was supposed to happen. Here's what they're leading. No. We're into some of that. But
yeah, there's going to be some fantasy booking here. I'm going to give you
fantasy booking. Yeah, I'm talking about the dirt sheet type of stuff, or they're setting this up for WrestleMania because they totally have plans to have that match at SummerSlam.
Well, we might actually say some of that, but we don't know what we're talking
exactly.
about.
Exactly. Yeah. We're doing it out of fun.
We're not claiming any authority here.
Right.
On the one hand, I completely agree that the women, they've done an excellent job building that division. They deserve a tag team champion. I actually appreciate the fact that they've only got one of them.
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, I think...
Where's the consistency in that?
Well, the men should do the same and get rid of one of them too. because neither division have enough real tag teams to merit 2 belts.
Well, it's totally watered down.
Well, yeah, again, it's horrible. I mean, when you actually can still consider on Raw the Ascension as a potential tag team title challenger, there's a problem. So I think the men should follow suit. Now, in terms of the team that won it tonight, didn't see the match, got nothing against Bailey and whatever her other name is. Sasha Banks.
We're really building up our cred here with the fans of like, that one.
What's her
name?
face?
Yeah.
Sasha Banks.
Sasha Banks.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell you who all was in the match. But you know what? Good for them. I will be interested to see how they're going to shuffle them between the brands and juggle.
That's
the
what I was going to
feuds.
ask you. What you thought about that?
Yeah, because at this point, until I see how they try to do it, I can't give you an opinion.
Because having tag team champions on both brands for the women would make absolutely no sense. When they did the draft again a couple years ago, and they announced that Raw obviously was going to stay as a 3-hour show, SmackDown was going to stay as a 2-hour show, the suggestion I made to my buddy was put all the women on Raw. Put the 205 guys on SmackDown because you already had the connection with Daniel Bryan because he was part of that Cruiserweight Classic and it kind of fit in his wheelhouse of giving them opportunities and things like that. But I would have just put all the women in the women's division in just one show. Let it been because I think they needed that momentum and having all their stars on one show versus instantly watering it down just after it started getting good after they dumped the Divas belt.
All this is going to be impacted by the upcoming superstar shakeup. They're going to redo another draft or some other variety of that. So I really couldn't tell you.
Of course. I just think the women's division in general is a little watered down by being on 2 shows.
Well, you say that, but then you watch 3 hours of Raw and 2 hours of SmackDown. What would you fill SmackDown with if you didn't have the occasional women's match? I mean, it's 2 hours.
I don't know offhand, but my point is just as you're starting to build that women's revolution, and it was a core group of women, then you split them in half. And now it's not so bad because I think they're rolling more and more NXT women through much quicker than before, I think, to fill the ranks.
Yeah, I don't see a problem with it right now.
At the time, though, it felt like 4 women over here and 4 women over here. Go fight for your one belt.
I agree with that, yeah. All right, next on the agenda.
I actually caught the ending of it, but the Usos versus The Miz and Shane McMahon. So the Usos go over, win the belts. Just in time for the Uso Penitentiary to have really played out appropriately this past week. You were up in the story. I just saw the mugshot.
Well, apparently it was a disorderly conduct after he got into a little drunken fracas with a cop in Detroit. I don't think there were any actual, my later information was there was no driving charges or anything like that. But regardless, I still think it was a horrible decision. First of all, you shouldn't have had the belts on McMahon and Miz anyway. I like Miz. I think he's been a guy that has managed to keep himself relevant when they've done everything possible to kill his career. But Shane should not be a champion. He's 46 or whatever he is. Should not be in there actually wrestling with young guys who are real wrestlers.
Let me cut you off there. I don't know if what he does is wrestling. He jumps around a lot.
Well, it's garbage wrestling. I mean, it's what made Mick Foley famous. So, I mean, And I don't want to get any stupid emails from you Mankind fans. But Mick Foley himself would tell you he was not Lou Thez. But, taking that aspect out of it, I am surprised they went ahead and pulled the trigger. To me, I would have come up with a plan B.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm half thinking that plan B is, what do we do on Tuesday night to get the belts off of the Usos immediately?
I hope you're wrong.
I don't like belts switching every other day either, but do you think it'll happen? Because, guys, this is something you need to know about my brother and I. We sometimes talk about what we think they're going to do and say, oh, I hope they don't do that. No. I'm not talking about, I'm with you on what I hope they don't do, but we're talking WWE logic. Do you think that'll actually happen?
I think it could happen just because it is WWE. I mean, I think any other rational promoter, booker, whatever you want to call them, you don't hotshot a title change that quick. I don't care who you are, what the circumstances are, unless somebody legitimately gets hurt. But WWE, they could do it. They could throw New Day in there, a consolation prize for poor Kofi. Spoiler, he didn't win. That could happen. Anything can happen with WWE. What I would have done was I would have went ahead, done some kind of screwball finish, set them up for another match at the next pay-per-view. This crap from this week has died down. The Usos, whatever. It's all kind of quiet. Then you put the belts on them or something like that.
Now, I'm not saying the arrest was a work because that's silly, but since that's kind of their gimmick with the Usos penitentiary, does it kind of work? I mean, it's not like he was caught with a bag of cocaine. He squared up on an officer is all I read about. I mean, it kind of works in the gimmick.
Well, no, but that's kind of a big deal, especially in this day and age with the culture that we're in.
I'm not disagreeing that from a moral perspective, but I'm just thinking you look at that, given other things that it could have been, whatever.
Well, but
domestic abuse, actual drugs, whatever, racist comments, and say, yeah, just go with it.
No, I don't think it matters. We get on the NFL because they kind of have these wishy-washy standards about, how they discipline players who pick up DV charges or DUIs or, whatever. I mean, quite frankly, I just think from the public relations perspective, you don't pull the trigger on the title switch tonight. I wouldn't have done it. I don't think it was smart. I don't know why they did it. They're not going to tell me why they did it. I wouldn't have done it.
Now, to your point, there wasn't a big fanfare celebration that the Usos wanted. They got the belts and walked off, and we focused on Shane and Miz.
Well, but in fairness, that's because it was the SmackDown tag belts. And again, nobody cares. Well, WWE doesn't care. That's why they put it on Shane McMahon. You don't put a belt on Shane McMahon if you actually care about the title.
No, the WWE, though, thinks...
I know what they think.
That by putting it on McMahon, that's money.
And
especially Shane O'Mac, he wears money on his shirt.
To be clear, now all three of the McMahons have held a world title.
Oh yeah, I guess Shane in his heyday was only like a European champion
or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But Stephanie,
he's never been a tag champion before.
Don't hold me to it. But
all right.
Stephanie, of course, was a woman's champion before the Divas come along, and and of course Vinnie Mac is famous for putting his own belt on him, which. At the age of 50-something, and but be that as it may, now all the McMahons can say they've been world champions.
Well, that's something.
Bravo.
Moving on. Finn Balor versus Lio Rush and Lashley. All right,
stop that.
I might actually edit that out.
Yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
I'm just going to say, before I say anything else, the first time I saw Lio Rush come out and kind of be his mouthpiece, I was like, hey, this kid's pretty good on a mic. And remember when he was interfering in the matches, and then the guy would go after him, and he would just jump around him like a circus ninja, and you're just like, whoa, holy crap.
Breaking news. Actually, it is the first time Shane held a world title. European champion, hardcore champion, one time each. First world championship. You heard it here last.
I don't think that. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think that's a spoiler because it already happened.
Anyway,
I actually thought this Lio Rush thing was actually a good thing for Lashley because it's like, okay, that's kind of his Paul Heyman. The kid talked. He was jumping around. He was kind of fast.
To show you how much I really care about this Lashley match,
he's still looking up things.
Did you know Shane McMahon was the Pro Wrestling Illustrated Rookie of the Year in '99?
I didn't know he had feud of the year in 2001 against his dad.
Do you know he's ranked number 245 out of 500 in 1999?
Well, he held a belt.
Okay, I'm sorry. You wanted to talk about Bobby Lashley. Go ahead.
Well, I was just talking about how Lio Rush seemed like a good idea at first, but when he started that in the middle of the match with the microphone doing the Lashley, I was like, man, that's the most annoying thing ever. But anyway, tonight we had a 2-on-1 handicap match because Bobby Lashley needed the second guy on his side to wrestle for the Intercontinental Champion
against the guy who weighs 206 pounds.
Probably, I think he's actually when he wrestled Brock Lesnar, he might have been built at like 198. I think they were really trying to play that out. There's an 80-pound difference, whatever. But, of course, I mean, they call it out. It's obvious on the writings on the wall, like, hey, what a great way to put the belt on Finn Balor by pitting Lio Rush. What you think? Did you catch any of that match?
Yes.
Okay. What'd you think?
My mind's still blown that Shane McMahon was Rookie of the Year in 1999. If that tells you what I think about the Bobby Lashley match.
So Bobby Lashley.
No, honestly, no. To me, that you hear this term and pardon me for the use of the term, smart marks, lazy booking. That was that match. I mean, come on. You know what?
Here's the funny thing: Finn Balor has pinfall victories, at least one against Bobby Lashley, just from a Raw.
I mean, Ray Charles saw that coming, and he's both blind and dead.
However, this isn't the last time we're going to talk about Bobby Lashley because the next match was the...
horrible.
Oh, actually, it wasn't the next match, but let's jump to it.
Wait, hold on. What was the next match?
Ronda Rousey, but let's talk about
Okay, we'll come back to Ronda.
Yeah. So Baron Corbin against Braun Strowman in a no disqualification match.
Yeah, what could go wrong there?
Yeah. So...
Here's what I don't understand about that match.
Oh, there's just one thing?
Well, yeah, actually, because the rest of it didn't shock me.
Okay.
What really surprised me, because I thought kind of the plan or the rumored plan was to put Braun and Kurt against Baron and Drew based on the past couple weeks of Raw. And maybe that was like maybe a potential WrestleMania match, or maybe it's going to be Kurt and Drew now. I don't know. But anyway, why no Kurt Angle to come out and make the save? At least make some kind of appearance. That was really the only thing that surprised me about that crap show of a match. That they first of all, you put Baron Corbin in a match, it's going to stink. I'm not a Baron Corbin fan. He's tall. That's about it. Drew McIntyre, probably right now the current most wasted wrestler on the roster. And then who's the other guy? Oh yeah, Lashley.
Yeah, we're coming back to Lashley. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who just lost his Intercontinental belt because of his little minion. It is just too convoluted. There are too many little side angles involved there, and I just wish they would hurry up, wrap this thing up, so Braun Strowman can get on back to losing to Brock for the Universal belt.
Number one, by the way, I haven't watched any of the Raws in the last couple of weeks, so I wasn't aware of that build-up you're describing. But I'm okay with him not showing up because this is just chapter one leading to the WrestleMania thing. So can Kurt come out and even the odds with him tomorrow and then build up further? I think that's okay. It was kind of impressive that they triple powerbombed the guy through it, but at some point when Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley come in to help Baron Corbin, you got to do something spectacular for me to really care on that, because it's just like, okay, it's 3-on-1, and two of those three guys are legitimately just looking at them like absolute animals, or at least should be or can be booked that way. So it's like, okay, I get that Baron Corbin's going to win this with that scenario, but when you walk off with that shot of Baron Corbin leading, presumably, Lashley and McIntyre, with them all doing kind of the big pose in the middle of the ring on top of the steps, as if they were like on an Olympic podium getting their medals, I'm just like, guys, that's not Rick Rude and the Dangerous Alliance there. This is being led by Baron Corbin? He's your faction leader here? Come on.
There is one possible saving scenario that I almost halfway expected tonight.
Oh, I thought those two were going to bury the crap out of Corbin.
Right. That would make this thing pay off.
That would have been entertaining.
However, here's the problem. That would necessitate a face turn for Baron Corbin. The fans don't care enough about Baron Corbin to ever cheer him as a face. So unless that leads up to him being his contract expired, or they're going to release him or something, I just don't see any reason to do that.
Agreed. I wasn't going to necessarily bring this up as a topic necessarily, but let me throw it out there. Talk about fantasy booking. You talk about Drew McIntyre being a totally waste of talent right now, and I agree. And when I think about, like, okay, who would I want right now to be the people either being your champions right now or being the next ones in line to get titles? I'd have to say Drew McIntyre with a Universal title sounds really good to me. Now, of course, there's behind that you have to have the right story and the right, does he get off of Seth at SummerSlam, or would him and Brock been a more spectacular WrestleMania?
Him and Brock would be an amazing match.
In theory.
Will not happen. What's going to end up happening, my guess, this is the long rumored and who knows, Seth beats Brock, and they should put Drew in the title mix against Seth.
See, I think that'd be really good. I would enjoy that.
Potentially, but I would still like to see Drew and Brock just tear each other down.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yes.
All right, moving back to the women's division. Actually, I'm not 100% sure what we saw was a match between Ronda Rousey and Ruby Riott. I mean, it's one of those things where they play up a little bit because, hey, they got to push the pay-per-view. But, like, Ruby Riott, she might be the one. She's got a mixed martial arts background. I bet she's the one.
Yeah, right.
Really? Guys, when Ronda Rousey started walking down the ring, I think...
I called it in 3 minutes and 50 seconds. I don't even think it lasted that long.
What'd you do? Look at your watch and say, okay, it's 8:51 right now.
Yeah, match was over by 8:54.
Yeah, so it's like...
It had nothing to do with Ruby Riott.
Yeah.
It had to do to set up the rest of the stuff.
Ruby Riott was an innocent bystander in this horrible three-way. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this? The getting into the Charlotte, Becky, suspended now, hurt her knee, blah, 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 triple threat. I mean...
Well, again, it's WWE insulting our intelligence. I mean, if she's suspended...
Oh, wait a minute, pal. We know you don't want your intelligence insulted. Good guys and bad guys.
Okay, even if you can buy, okay, she's legitimately in the arena because she, quote, I'm doing a little finger thing, bought a ticket. Once she got past the barrier, she was then, logic says trespassing. Then they let her get in the ring. It took her an hour to get in the ring because of the whole knee angle. Nobody comes out. She beats the heck out of two, both of them for an hour.
This is after doing it last night, too, in the house show in Louisiana.
Yeah, with nobody coming out to stop her. And I got to admit, I'm a little disappointed in how they booked Ronda in this because she's not usually booked that stupid. If you're her and Becky Lynch comes in there, I get why they did it, but your Becky Lynch is there beating the tar out of Charlotte Flair. Get out of the ring.
Can I emphasize something? Guys, we know this is scripted. We know that's worked. We know it's, why didn't the security stop? Well, because that's not, we get that, but
it's still not logical.
If we're watching The Walking Dead and the zombies break out into song and dance, we would be like, why are they writing the zombies like that? We know it's fake. That's not the point. There is still a realistic presentation of what we're watching that you have to look at and think, that makes no sense.
Well, they're supposed to be.
Right, and that's what we're commenting on. So we know know it's just how it's being scripted. But you're right. Becky starts wailing away on Charlotte with the crutches. She kind of looks at Ronda like, hey, why don't you take a few shots? And Ronda kind of walks past and turns her back on Becky, and you're like, well, of course what's going to happen?
She's an MMA fighter. She's not going to ever do that. That's stupid. I mean, you get out of Dodge, let Becky Lynch do her thing, and then, if you're looking at this, if you're supposed to preserve some form of realism, you're the champ, you have absolutely nothing to lose by this person beating up your challenger. Get out of the ring. Plus, does it actually fit with Ronda's perceived character that she's going to take a crutch and beat on a woman that's down? No.
No, of course not. No, it's one of those things like, well, they're not going to have her start wailing on with a crutch. That makes no sense.
So none of it made sense.
The one prop I will give to the WWE on all this is it does have us talking of, hey, now wait a minute. What are they going to do here? Are they going to do a three-way match with Becky and get her reinserted in it?
Oh, of course they are.
Or
Ronda Rousey tomorrow night is going to demand that she be reinstated and added to the match. Boom, done, triple threat. There you go. Vince got your match.
But here's what I got to ask. Why do we have this angle about Becky's knee? Because there's a small part of me that thinks...
To make her the underdog.
There's that. But knowing the WWE, or at least what I perceive from them, are they actually trying their hardest to convince us that, no, guys, Becky can't be in it? She's suspended, her knee's hurt. Just get it out of your head right now. I know the rumor is that...
Well, yeah, that's the underdog angle.
Becky and Charlotte wrestle at Fastlane to see who gets the match at WrestleMania. And if it's a big schmoz, well, I guess it's got to be a three-way, pal. What do you think the play-out is?
I think the play-out is that it's going to be a three-way match, and I hate three-way matches, and it's going to stink.
I will disagree with you that it'll stink.
Well, no.
But
no, the match itself, the wrestling will be good.
It's not as pure as it could. I mean, Becky and
Working
Ronda,
the outcome is going to stink. That's why I hate the three-way matches.
Ronda can get the belt taken off of her without being pinned, of course. And then if she's actually...
Which is ridiculous.
If she's actually thinking of leaving and calling it quits and moving on with her life, then she walks out with saving face. I get all of that. I am just talking more of the... What's the satisfying story? I get how, like, hey, if we're going to put a women's match as the main event of WrestleMania, then dang, put the 3 top stars in it. It's got to be huge.
WWE doesn't think in terms of the satisfying match. They do no booking that involves what the fans want or what the fans would think would be good. I don't know exactly what their thought process is. I know what it isn't.
But Triple H told me a few weeks ago that we're the authority. We'll get what we want.
All right, moving on the agenda. I think that just leaves the Hell in the Cell.
I think so.
No, I mean the Elimination, whatever that big thing was.
You know, the big box with the cake. Wait a minute, that could describe either one. So the Elimination Chamber match.
Which I hate. I'm old school. I don't like... to me, it's too gimmicky. When you start off the match, on the screen, there's a list of like 14 different rules, and you're sitting there trying to process them in the 20 seconds they give you. It's not a good concept. That's just one man's opinion.
Did you not like the War Games when we were kids?
The War Games was you put 4 guys on each team, into 2 cages and just let them beat the crap out of each other.
No, but there was a laundry list of it. It's like, we'll start off with the 2 men with a coin toss in 5 minutes, and this wasn't convoluted. What I hate, I don't mind the match of itself. I hate when the title's on the line. It's worse than a triple threat. It's a 6-way match.
Yeah, because it's twice as many people.
Yeah.
But at least ultimately the champ does have to get pinned in an Elimination Chamber.
Well, yeah, every five the 5 losers do actually get pinned, of course.
Or tap. Yeah. But anyway, all right, go ahead.
So what'd you think of the, I've been a little out of the game the last few weeks and the whole build-up on this, but what I do is even if I don't watch the shows, I'll go in and I'll read what happened. I know that doesn't give you the mood behind everything, but I'm a little aware of...
Well, what's your question?
Yeah, just what'd you think of it?
Well, first I thought it was a very bizarre mix of 6 competitors. Jeff Hardy, you knew he wasn't going to win. A, he's too old. B, he's too burned out.
Can't remember who was in it, can you?
I can't remember who was in it.
AJ Styles.
That other guy, you knew he wasn't going to win it.
Randy
okay,
Orton.
Samoa Joe.
I got it right here in front of you.
Samoa Joe, you knew he wasn't going to win it because if Drew McIntyre's been the most misused wrestler, Samoa Joe's been a close number 2. So you knew Samoa Joe wasn't going to win it. Randy Orton, you just prayed didn't win it, although he certainly could have. AJ Styles could have won it. I actually am glad he didn't win it because I don't think AJ needs the belt anymore. He is clearly the top guy. He's almost become Cena-esque for SmackDown. Doesn't need the belt anymore. Put over the other guys. So that left Kofi and the what's his name? The champ. What's his nuts? Daniel Bryan. Brian Daniel. Brian Danielson, the guy from Ring of Honor.
The new Daniel Bryan.
And actually, the match itself, all 6 wrestlers did a fantastic job. Can't take away from the effort. Once you whittle it down to the last 2, they gave it all you could get. And I'll tell you what, I mean, I was impressed by both of them. The reality is that what should have happened didn't happen, even though everybody knew it wasn't going to. Everybody knew Kofi was not going to win. But again, it's one of those situations WWE missed out on an opportunity to really make a moment. That would have been a moment, and they missed out on that opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where all this goes from here. I don't know what the alleged plans, and again, I usually don't seek out this information because, I mean, I just don't. If I accidentally catch what plans are for future events, it's because I got thrown into a Facebook group that I follow on a different topic and somebody just blurts it out there. So I don't know where this is going, but one thing I'm a little confused about is what is Daniel Bryan's, big feud right now? Was it one of these guys? Was it amazingly all of these guys just because they were building up for this? Or
well, him and AJ have their feuds never died down.
Well, of course, that one's obvious. But like you said, though, I kind of figured that it's not building up to Daniel Bryan and AJ Styles at WrestleMania.
The problem I have with the whole Randy Orton thing is that the way they've booked Orton over the past few years, he just comes out of nowhere, and I get he's the Viper, whatever, okay, it's part of the character. But he comes out and he starts these feuds with these different people for no reason. Like he started the feud with Jeff Hardy, he started the feud with Rey Mysterio. It's no rhyme or reason. Again, no logic, just poof, there he is, there's Randy Orton. Randy Orton's been around too long, he needs to go bye-bye as far as I'm concerned. I'm not entertained by him. Samoa Joe, he hates the world, so that kind of made sense. Jeff Hardy, I actually do not even know why they threw Jeff Hardy in there. But that's beside the point. Kofi, of course, we know he only got in there because that other guy got hurt, and it was Kofi's big break. Because I tell you what, I think this match tonight made Kofi relevant again as a singles guy.
Beyond him, just the guy who can't get out of the Royal Rumble too easily.
Beyond the guy who just become part of the comedy act.
See, now, if you guys remember what I said earlier, I took a hiatus of watching wrestling from 2001 to 2014, and I really only know Kofi Kingston as a New Day member, which is probably kind of sad. You guys had a lengthy career, I suppose. But
hey, what was your thoughts on this? For those of you at home, that was a deep sigh.
That's just it. There's not enough about this that I understand the story, which is partially my fault for not keeping up. But even in watching this match, I was like, okay, got it. Orton and AJ at WrestleMania then, I guess, because they're evil eyeing each other, and Orton puts it, which I gotta admit, it would have been cooler if Orton could have done the RKO on AJ in midair, but the way they did the camera work that AJ pops up on the top rope to do his move, and then, there's Randy Orton. That wasn't that bad.
Here's the problem. I'm about to give you a list of all the people that care about a Randy Orton-AJ Styles match at WrestleMania. Do you want to hear it again? Nobody cares about that match. Now,
it doesn't matter who cares about it. They got to put.
I know.
They got to put him in a match against somebody.
Well, and see, there's the bigger problem. AJ Styles. There's nobody right now on the SmackDown roster that I care to see AJ wrestle at WrestleMania.
But you don't understand. This is the first time they've ever wrestled.
Who's the U.S. champion now? Oh, that's R-Truth, so he's a good guy.
He still has the belt?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He's a good guy, so you can't make that match. If Truth happens to drop that
He
belt
sure
to...
doesn't, and AJ sure doesn't need the U.S.
Well, no, but I mean, you got to give him a match that means something.
But Orton's considered a long time star, one of the biggest stars on the roster right now by name recognition. So I mean, it's a big match.
AJ needs to be on Raw. I mean, I'm starting it right now. Free AJ. That's all I'm saying.
Well, SmackDown's moving to Fox with this $100 billion deal that they signed. They need a big star over that.
They need more than one big star over on that.
But what, WrestleMania is inside of 60 days, so
49 days, according to the graphic on the pay-per-view.
no, of course.
7 weeks.
But then I don't know where that leads Daniel Bryan. And by the way, Daniel Bryan and Rowan. What?
Yeah, who cares?
Why is that association?
Quite
even
frankly,
made?
I would be okay, and quite frankly, I think he's earned it. I would be more than okay with now turning the ship around and building up to a Daniel Bryan Kofi Kingston rematch at WrestleMania, because it's not going to be the main event match anyway. I think the fans would love that.
That could be good.
Yeah.
Going back to if I had my druthers of who these belts should be on, you know how I'd like to see the SmackDown WWE World Title go on?
Who?
Rusev Day. I think he's due. I mean, I'm not saying for WrestleMania because there's no build-up for it, but like,
It ain't going to happen.
lead into that.
No,
He's ready.
He's in the Cesaro category. It's not going to happen.
I get it. No, I know. I'm just saying if you want to turn the ship, right the ship, and say, okay, who has been consistent?
If you wanted to right the ship, you'd put the belt on Cesaro. The man is probably the best pure wrestler on either roster.
I don't disagree with that.
And phenomenally strong.
I don't disagree with that. But
And at one point, he had the fans behind him.
I would have been right behind you in the picket line for that 2 years ago.
Well, who else you got now? I mean, like I said, AJ's had it enough here recently.
I agree.
Okay. Daniel Bryan, whenever he get... Okay, you're sitting here. Who would you put the belt on next? Since you're going down this road, who would you... SmackDown, who would you put the belt on next?
Again, in light of not having the story written out for the entertainment value.
Not talking about the story.
But I already answered the question.
Just give me a wrestler.
I already answered the question. I started Rusev. He'd be my next guy. I would build up a program. Maybe it's SummerSlam. Maybe it's like get Daniel Bryan over some hump that you have to. Him and Kofi at WrestleMania, big massive match.
Rusev over Cesaro.
Right now, yeah. Right now,
Why?
yeah.
Based on what? Rusev doesn't have any particular more steam behind him than Cesaro.
I actually do think Rusev at a promo, and I actually find Rusev more entertaining as an individual wrestler. Cesaro has been amazing in tag teams. I mean, I can't believe how good he and Sheamus are.
Cesaro is amazing as a single.
I think he's an amazing wrestler. I've been behind him in the past. If you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would have said Cesaro. Now I think I'd put my chips on Rusev. But neither one's a bad answer. If you wanted to...
Neither one's a bad answer, but neither one's never going to happen.
Is Cesaro and Sheamus on a little bit of a hiatus? Have they been around, or have they been kind of like parked?
I don't know. They just dropped the tag belts, 2-3 weeks ago. I mean, it hasn't been that long.
When they brought him back after his injury, and he started coming out with the
Cesaro?
Cesaro,
Yeah.
with the whole James Bond thing, but then somehow turned into a lifeguard. I don't know what his gimmick there was, but when they brought him back from that, I thought something was going to happen with that. In fact, he quickly, I think, was in some maybe 4-person, 5-person match to where the winner was going to go face the champion later that night, and I don't think Cesaro won it, but it sure seemed like he was going to. I probably have my details mixed up, but like that would have been a good moment. But then it got weird. Then he got into the feud with Sheamus. They went the best of 7, which to an old school fan was reminiscent of a Nikita Magnum type of thing.
By
And
the
then they became
way-
a good tag team.
That leads me to another segue that's not unrelated. Bray Wyatt.
Didn't he wrestle at the Starrcade in Cincinnati? I think he did. I was like, oh, wow, Bray Wyatt's back. And then I haven't seen him or heard from him since.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, my point is, because he has been, and I'm not aware of him being injured, you could bring him back to SmackDown now and position him against Daniel Bryan. I mean, you certainly have the history there.
No, that's not bad at all.
Especially with now that Rowan's involved in this. And one's got to assume Harper's going to get involved in this when he gets cleared to come back. Which I don't get. I don't get any of this. I don't get any of this.
You don't get what? I missed your last point. What was that?
Well, about Harper and
Oh,
Rowan,
yeah.
and you had them as the Bludgeon Brothers, and they both got hurt.
Which, by the way,
two most injury-prone guys on planet Earth.
How 1995 WWF was that tag team?
The Bludgeon Brothers?
Yeah.
I thought it was kind of cool.
No,
actually.
they were cool in ring, but them coming out with the costumes and the cosplaying like they should be walking around Comic-Con or something. That just doesn't seem like anything WWE's done in the last few. That WWE's done in the last few. By the way, I still call it WWF, so I'll have to correct myself constantly on that. But that just seems like a weird treatment for those two. As a tag team, making them like monster heel tag team because they are legitimately 9.5 feet tall each, but it's just kind of weird.
Well, I mean, what do you expect from a company that buries Anderson and Gallows?
Oh.
Don't get me started on that topic.
You're telling me not to get you started on? You brought it up.
Well, fine. Since we're started on it,
So,
how about two guys that got screwed over bad?
the only thing I'm going to tell myself is that they probably got pretty darn good payday, got some good exposure, at least being on TV in a way. I mean, admittedly, I'd heard of them before and I knew who they were, but it's the first time I'd really seen them go. And they had one run with the belts, I think, for a minute and a half, but I hear you. There's a lot more talent there.
Hey, we were off topic. What were we talking about? What were you talking about?
So, a comment I made to my brother while we were watching Elimination Chamber, I forgot at what point I said it, to be honest with you, but I looked at him and I said, man, the AEW, there's no way they can't succeed in all this. And my point to that was, there's certainly an aspect that some wrestling fans, I'm not suggesting AEW is going to do the 83 weeks treatment on WWF like Bischoff, Nitro, and the NWO did. But you got to think they've got more than just a strong niche that they can bring back into wrestling if they do everything well. What do you think?
Well, I think they sold out Vegas in 4 minutes. I mean, that's all you need to know. They get a TV deal, they're gone. I mean, they'll be head and shoulders over WWE. And I know a lot of people they won't come out and say that. But I mean, that is a reality. If they get the right TV deal and a good time slot on a real channel, unlike TNA or Impact, or what they call themselves nowadays.
So get them on a TBS, get them on a Spike, get them on whatever.
Nah, not a Spike. TBS, TNT.
Is Spike even a network anymore?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know what they do. I haven't watched it in forever. But, I mean, if they get a legitimate deal where it's not Pop TV and it's not
Access America.
It's not 10 o'clock on a Thursday night or whatever. They're putting the pieces into place, and I can't imagine that the actual booking would be worse than what WWE's been giving us for years. I understand that the right now people saying they're not a threat to WWE because they got 60 years of history 56 years of history and $1 billion corporation and all these whatevers, but WWE's not doing themselves any favors. You sign the Kenny Omegas, you sign the Chris Jerichos, Young Bucks. I'm not a big fan of them. I know people love them guys. The bottom line is that they are demonstrating very quickly they know how to generate the buzz, and that's what wrestling is about, generating the buzz. WWE cannot do that or has not been doing that for the past several years.
What we'll be telling about AEW is, yes, they sold out really quickly Chicago at All In. They sold out Las Vegas in 4 minutes. My understanding is from some rumors and just what people are speculating on is that they'll probably have another event like that in September, probably corresponding Labor Day like they did All In last year, and then hopefully by October or something they got a TV deal in place and they're off and running. But when they're doing these shows monthly, nightly, weekly, whatever their business model is, not sure if they're going to go a 300-date house show market or just a once-a-month pay-per-view on Fight or what their model is to support their TV deal. But at some point in time, they're going to level off. What's going to be important is what is the level that they level off at. And quite frankly, guys, hey, it doesn't have to be WWE big to be profitable, worthwhile, and satisfying to the wrestling industry. I mean, there's no way they're going to come out at WWE levels because you're right, they're a billion-dollar corporation, publicly traded, but they just need to be viable, worthwhile, and relevant. And if they're a multi-million-dollar company of profit, they can be. I mean, they can go on as long as they want. But what do you think about what you've heard so far about their business model? I don't want to.
Well, I haven't heard anything about their business model, but I'll tell you.
Proceed business model. They haven't come out and said.
If I'm them, I don't know that I really rushed to a TV deal, and it may be one of those situations where less is more. If you booked one show a month in a big market or a relatively decent sized market, be it a Chicago, be it a Vegas, be it a Miami, Florida, be it somewhere in the Northeast, pick once a month and you're able to sell out
10,000 people
in an hour, and people are coming in, and you make it a profitable show. Run with that as long as you can. And people. Here's where I disagree with the modern day wrestling business model. I guess the money has become in the television, and WWE, the house shows, or what do they call them now, live events.
Live events.
The live events don't make them any money, but they still run the live events because that way they kick the tires on some angles, and they let some guys practice their matches a few times. Nobody really. And to me, it goes back to what I heard Jim Cornette say a long time ago on a podcast. The money was made in the smaller towns. The profit was made in the smaller towns because it was a lot cheaper to run the venues, and if you filled them and packed them and you're selling your merch and you're selling your concessions and you're making a good profit margin, he said that's where your money was made. And to me, I really wonder in this day and age if you can't see a wrestling company make the profit off of just, at least initially, a slow burn build-up, once a month, fill out a nice size arena, pocket the money, then you ease into something a little bit more whatever. I don't know that it's a great idea to rush into some big major TV deal. Now, obviously, you got to do it faster in the NWA. I don't, I sit here right now. I have no clue what the NWA is.
I was just going to ask
what
that.
they're doing. Where they think they're going. You've got this meaningless Crockett Cup thing coming up.
What the NWA is doing, to me, is what a lot of sources of entertainment's doing right now, is just playing off of pure nostalgia. Toy Fair was just this weekend. Hasbro has been, or the action figure toy market in general has been a little slumpy, and Hasbro came out. They announced this line of Star Wars retro figures, which is the 70s, 80s Kenner style figures, like identical to the Kenner ones that they're remolded because they don't have those molds, on vintage artwork back with the Kenner logo on it. People are going crazy about it. So Funko Pops, go to all the old licenses, 70s. I saw the Jeffersons as a Target exclusive 2-pack vinyl pops. George and Wheezy. So nostalgia's in. They're having a Crockett Cup because a handful of people are going to remember, oh man, the Crockett Cup is back. I just wrote down some numbers because I wanted to throw out something to you. I've considered myself a relatively casual wrestling fan over the last few years, at least getting back into it with the network. I've pretty much been a network subscriber since the day it started, so probably more than casual. I collect belts, I have some action figures, I'm a mark.
You're a mark.
But in the last, let's call it a year, I have spent $170 on Fight TV for All In, NWA 75, Wrestle Kingdom, and I also threw in the numbers I put in there for StarCast for all their streaming things, even though that wasn't wrestling events. So, but I gave $170 to non-WWE events 5 years ago. And actually, you know what? There's a $10 I'm missing from like maybe 18 months ago when MLW did their first streaming show, which, I watched it. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to buy any of these MLW shows again. But in general, in the last 2 years, I've pumped in $180 into the quote-unquote indie scene. So to me, it's like, if I'll put a little money into that, you're right. They've got some going on here they can play off of. The fact all these quote-unquote big indie shows are showing up on Fight TV, that's a good venue. It's easily accessible. The app works fine. It's no WWE Network, but, Ring of Honor shows are on there. Booker T's Reality of Wrestling's on there. To me, that's a decent venue.
Yeah, and the flip side of that is, Ring of Honor is owned by Sinclair. They still don't have any kind of a TV deal outside of syndication, but they are syndicated in most major markets that I'm aware of. I don't actually watch Ring of Honor. I'll be honest with you, I'm not a Ring of Honor guy. I know they've got a tremendous history. I know they've had a lot of guys go through there. AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Bryan Danielson, Daniel Bryan now, Nigel McGuinness. I mean, Jay Lethal. I am a big Jay Lethal fan. I do like the Briscoes, but beyond that, I'm not a fan of sitting there and watching their hour-long product. That being said, it's obviously at least keeping them visible enough to where they are pretty successful up in the Northeast. Got to admit it. Right now, as we sit here, they are the number 2 wrestling company in the United States. It's a way distant second, and I'm not sure AEW doesn't leapfrog them for number 2 tomorrow. But
T-shirt sales alone right now are probably leapfrogging them.
Yeah, it could be. But it's so unless you're WWE and you're able to get the billion-dollar deals from a Fox network, I don't know how big of a thing it is anymore to have a cable TV spot when people aren't watching cable like they used to. I don't know. I really haven't. I've never studied the numbers.
Very good. Well, we're about to hit our 1 hour time limit and Broadway this thing out. Any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I wish you wouldn't go say Broadway.
I know. I actually just kind of did that to annoy you.
Boy, you marked.
Yeah, I just did that to annoy you. So.
You're a smart mark who believes in kayfabe. Or whatever. Anyway, good show. Hope you listened. Hope you enjoyed. You going to give them like some kind of contact for feedback or just let them post it on YouTube?
You know what? I'm not going to put it on this show right now just because I don't know what it is. But when I upload
My brother's cell phone number is area code
555. When I upload this into the YouTube channel, if you got this off of the YouTube, you'll see that information on that page, and maybe I'll edit it in at the end, but I probably won't do that on this first episode. We'll get our email, our Facebook, our Twitter, all that jazz going, and hopefully a few dozen of you will start talking to us in the next few weeks.
All right, till next time, bonsoir.